Hi, Linda. Good to be with you again.
Hi, Andre. It's good to see you. And you were on with Lena yesterday, and I was thinking, I need to talk to Andre again. This
Hmm.
eclipse aspect has been really kicking some people's butts.
Yeah, eclipses can do that. Uh, Typically, what it'll be is when the where the eclipse happens. There are like it was right in the middle of Virgo Pisces, right? So
Right.
if you're in the middle of Virgo or Pisces yourself, or Sagittarius or Gemini. Those are the four corners that are going to be most affected. But that's only the sun. That's your birthday by sun sign. If you have planets there, and the only way you know if you have planets there is you got to know where your planets are, right? Then you would know, because I've had plenty of eclipses and full moons and new moons where it wasn't my sun, it was some other planet. And it could be really, really impactful because it could be your health house or it could be
Right.
whatever, some kind of thing. So yeah, eclipses are powerful. And there's this feeling with the eclipse. I've noticed this before that whatever is happening before the eclipse already. It's kind of drawing you into this topic that you're dealing with. And then there's a kind of culmination and a follow up that can go for months where you're dealing with the issue. But all of this is supposed to be to help you grow. You shouldn't think of it as these things are out to get me and this is my life will go into a ditch. It's meant to be there's something happening you could improve, correct, adjust, whatever it is. And so
Right. And I
that's a more
had
optimistic way.
before this, and I'm a Virgo, tomorrow's my birthday. And I had a little health issue that came upon me out of
Mm.
the blue. And it's going to be fine. It's some sort of cyst on my kidney, but it's so high up they don't want to drain it because it's too close to my lungs. But they don't see any danger with it. They said it's very common. So that was taken care of, but it was right before the eclipse. But I was telling you, emotionally and spiritually, especially, I was getting some hardcore information from the realm this morning. I'm feeling really good. I'm feeling connected. I'm getting a lot of spiritual information, which surprises me. I'm starting to see some things I need to change about what I do and say online and to give people comfort more than, it's beautiful. And they were kind of showing me how we're all wrapped up in this Trump thing and that it's causing such anxiety for us. It puts us in what they call a state of resistance, and we're not unable to move because it's just like all this Epstein stuff coming out, and everybody's already upset because they know he it won't kick him out. That's the thing. He just bombed a Venezuelan boat with Venezuelan civilians. That's an act of war, yet nobody's moving forward, are they?
No, no, at least not for the time being. It probably isn't enough of a transgression. And I mean, what's Venezuela going to do? I mean,
Yeah.
it's just
Well, they're yelling and screaming, but nobody's helping them.
yeah, exactly. So
And the Venezuelan president said, "Oh, he's not coming here because he's afraid of drugs. He's coming here because he wants our oil and our resources," which is
yeah,
just sounds like him. But
yeah.
based on what all the information, all the time that I've been on with you, the real aspects of Trump going down aren't till next year.
Well, it's like a buildup. I mean,
Yeah.
first of all, people can be funny. I'll say, okay, there's this period of time, and I'll say really clearly, it's this month goes from here to here, and then they put in the comment, you need to give us dates. I just gave you
We
the dates.
can't.
They're looking at like you got to tell me, January 22nd at noon. That's not how life works. You've got a swath of time. Have you ever had a doctor say to you, this is going to happen on April 21st? They don't tell you that because they don't know. They'll say there's a swath of
No.
time. That's how these aspects work. Like right now, he's walking through a minefield.
Yeah.
Because he's in a minefield, he might step on a mine or he may not. But I've also said, even if he gets through the field, 2026 is just it's a continuation. It
Yeah.
keeps happening because also in 26 the problem he has is all his people, well, practically like RFK, Tulsi Gabbard, Who else was involved? There are two or three, like key people in the cabinet are getting hit. Well, that means that more fronts, scandal here, an attack there. You get distracted, you make more mistakes, things can become more complicated, right?
Right.
But you can't say it's going to be, such and such. You just
No,
know the person is navigating through a tough time.
I just told you too. Somebody, I don't know who it was. It's not somebody I watch. Astrologer, predictor type person, astrologer, and
Is it an astrologer?
psychic.
Wow,
It was
that's
some woman, and they had the little short clip, and she said September 9th there will be the biggest earthquake in California, and we're going to fall into the sea. So I'm here to tell you, thus far it hasn't happened. Maybe it will, but you
yeah.
never know. I don't feel it. And listen, when I was gone in Southern California this past weekend, and everybody and their neighbor was writing me, "Is he dead? Is he dead?" Everybody was coming up with all these things that how he was poisoned or whatever. And I got overwhelmed a little bit, and then my guide said, he's still alive.
It's still
He's
going.
still with us. And it's not helping them by constantly thinking, please God, let him die, because that doesn't help your own soul. So,
No,
yeah, but they told me to tell people to quiet it down. Don't go on that road. It's not good for your soul energy. We don't care about him, but for you, it's not good to wish somebody to die.
no,
So,
I would even add that from my vantage point, I hope he's the face of Trumpism in 2026 because the filtered through his chart, it puts the GOP at a tremendous disadvantage, right? If he were
yeah,
to disappear, JD's isn't enough to save them, but he's in a much better position than Trump. So one of the things that is going on with the era we're in is, I mean, it should be pretty obvious to people, right? Because you start to go like, how can this be happening? And we've got these MAGA crazy people. There's no way to end this conflict until people see really clearly how incompetent they are, how malevolent they are. Then they're more likely to be really mobilized to resist and to vote and to, demonstrate and to do everything that you need to do to change the situation. It's like that, right? Otherwise, it's like a thing that is festering and it keeps
right. But
continuing.
this is definitely happening more so than in the first time. Like that
Yes.
Venezuelan woman that did that song and dance about how Trump was the one. And then now her husband got deported, someone else got deported. She's up there sobbing and crying. And I do feel sorry for these people, the farmers and stuff,
Oh, of course, of course. No, there's no
because
question.
but they honest to God believed him.
Well, that's remarkable. That's remarkable because
He
that
lies while
it's
breathing.
remarkable. Yeah, no, I mean, and also just when you put your trust in someone that is clearly immoral with a long, long record, you only have yourself to blame. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, this
Yeah.
man before the election was saying, "I'm going to bring down the prices on day one," and even before he was sworn in, he started saying, "Well, that could take a while." I mean, totally
I'm going to
shameless.
stop all the wars.
Yeah, he keeps saying, "I stopped 3 wars, 5 wars, 7 wars." Then he renames the Department of Defense to the Department of War. By the way, that's a big branding mistake. He's
I
losing his
know.
edge. He's losing his edge because he's a marketer, brander, and that he doesn't realize that that's not a good move because it's chipping away at some of the MAGA people. Like I was amazed to see this MAGA influencer. His name is Smith. And
Yeah.
his big beef was the thing when they bombed Iran, because, oh, well, that, the rest doesn't seem to bother him, which is crazy. But he's focused on that, that you said you weren't going to do any war stuff and you did some war. So now I'm against you. Well, now you've got Hegseth, talking about aggression and war and the Department of War. And the only war they're doing is against the American citizens by sending,
Oh, I
troops
know. I
into the
know.
cities. Yeah.
And Mr. I'm going to do a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it. I guarantee you, Mexico's going to. No, never happened.
Mm-mm. No, not at all. No.
But he is not getting the due respect, nor should he, from all other nations. People got their nose turned up to him.
No, no, and it's one of the things that it's like you see it in sports, for example, players adapt or teams adapt to each other. Once they know the game, they realize, well, this is fast or slow, whatever they adapt. And these leaders have figured out, okay, what does this guy want? How do we, because before he was like an unknown, they weren't sure. Now, I mean, he was known, but he wasn't known politically. Now they know that you got to compliment him. You have to do, X, Y, Z.
Sit
And
around
so
in a
then,
circle and say, sir, like Zuckerberg and all those people kissing the ring. Oh, it was
right.
terrible.
But you were saying, weren't you saying that you had an intuition that the leaders, they're not calling him. They're not
Yeah,
actually
I was doing a
responding.
show and I kind of backed into Trump for a second. I don't like to look at him. But I saw him furious and telling his secretary or whoever, they keep calling Putin and Kim Jong-un and all these people. Nobody's calling them back. And then the other day, I posted it on my community page. They wrote a little article about it that Trump was upset because nobody's calling him back.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's not a good situation. I mean, I know those angles that he's under, and at minimum, you don't feel well yourself, or situations are very hard to navigate. Lots of adjustments, lots of tangents and problems, and it can get really bad at a moment's notice too, because there are planets in there that can be explosive, like the Uranus cycle. Once it starts to lock in, there could be a bomb situation like sometime between late in the year and the spring. That whole period there is really dicey,
It's
including,
got
by the
some,
way, that this Epstein thing, I said it in my last couple of references, this thing isn't going away because
oh,
it surfaced in the summer, and if it was going to be short-lived, it would have backed off, and it's gotten worse because
it's
now
gotten
now you've
worse.
got now you've got MTG and Lauren Boebert pulling for the survivors, pulling for the
Right.
aggrieved. This isn't good. And the thing is, there's another station in January, and another station in July, and another station the following January. I even got this flash. Tell me if you something
What?
similar with you. I got this flash that this guy got back in one on one level to save the country by doing the opposite of what needs to be done. In other words, by waking up the country to
Yeah.
resist and create, a new direction. And the other reason is to meet his own karma, to find himself. Because think about this: if he doesn't win the presidency, the Epstein thing is dead. No one, it would have just faded into the
Disappeared.
background.
But now we get the full Monte.
And why? Because he was stoking the fires when he was running for office. He was, oh yeah, yeah. When I get in, we're going
Why
to
do
bring
you
it all
think he
out.
said that?
Because Trump, the thing with Trump is it's like the inmates are running the asylum. Remember that Trump was, yeah, think about it. He was so proud of Operation Warp Speed. He loved the vaccine idea. He didn't want people to wear masks because he said, no, 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 we have this great vaccine coming and I'm going to solve all the problems with the vaccine. Then he found out that his people hate vaccines. In fact, there's a meeting that he did in 2021. He's sitting with the MAGA people and he brings up Warp Speed and they started booing. So he realized, I can't do this. So I'm going to follow them. A real person would have said, stop being stupid. Vaccines work. Educate yourself. That is what he should have
But
said.
he did
But no,
start warp speed.
he did. Yeah. But then instead of sticking by that, because I'm sure he took the vaccine himself and all of
Yeah.
that, instead of that, he followed the people, right? So it's the same thing with Epstein. They created a conspiracy and he could have said, nah, there's nothing there. But he thought, no, this is good because they're going to vote for me. It's like I'll take everybody. I'll take the racists. I'll take the Epstein. I'll take them all. Yeah, but you know what? You go to sleep with a conspirator, you'll wake up with a conspirator. So be careful,
Right.
right? And now it's come home to roost. It's that simple. Yeah.
Well, and that's losing its power because I know RFK Jr. is not liked by MAGA either.
Well, some MAGA and some the extremes. Yeah, for sure.
How was his chart the last time you looked? Because my flash, I saw Trump saying, dude, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to let you go. And I don't know what that's about.
Well, I don't know what the timing you saw. Basically, the timing that I see is that he has pressures now, like this summer. I had said this, I remember in May or something, that there was pressure because of this one angle, but it's way amplified next year. Next year, it's bigger, like multiply it by two or three. And usually, the way this guy plays, it'll be because something will happen. And then
Yeah,
he'll
well, what's going to
force
happen is children are going to start dying. We've already got
something.
several measles deaths in Texas. And you just wait till kids get polio again. Somebody, oh, my friend Dan said diphtheria is the worst. And they're not even pushing for inoculation against diphtheria. It's just these horrible diseases will come and take families away. That's probably when the pressure is. That's when Trump doesn't want to have anything to do with it.
Well, he's got like there's the way Saturn works right now. Saturn is backtracking to about 25 degrees Pisces. Then that's in November. Then it starts to move forward, re-enters Aries in February, where it stays in Aries for the next 2+ years. But from February, it moves toward the middle of the year and it parks there. And those degrees, they're really bad for RFK because they do a direct hit on his moon and the 12th house. The way this guy plays, you just know that it's either before that and then he's dealing with consequences then, or that's when it happens. That middle of
Okay.
the year is very, very tricky for him. Yeah.
I saw Trump asking him to step down,
Well,
giving him that courtesy at least. He doesn't just cross the board fire him. He said, do me a favor, you need to step down.
I mean, to be honest, it's although, like pick the dangers. Who's more dangerous, RFK or Pete Hegseth?
Oh,
But RFK is pretty bad because when you start to monkey around with health services, he's also he cut back funding, although that can be restored. But the fact that he's there and that now certain people can't get vaccines, and someone told me that in some states now, you need, no matter what age you are, you need to get a doctor's note to even get the vaccine, which before was
prescription,
you could
yeah.
just go to the pharmacy. So
Any update on Hedgehog?
Hexeth,
Yeah.
yeah, his is I don't know what it'll be, but the energy now as we go September, October, November, December, January, even this whole swath is similar to when he did that signal gate thing. So odds are really good he's going to step in it again. So he may end up he might get canned too, or if he doesn't get canned, it'll work. It'll be another thing that'll stain Trump's
I'm
Trump's
sure the
reputation.
military can't stand him.
Yeah, for good reason. I mean, for
And
good
did you
reason.
see he's playing dress up now, like Christy Home? He was dressed with the thing and like he's a paratrooper or something. I
I
don't know
mean,
what it is about these. It all started with George Bush Jr. dressing up and getting on a plane when he never flew planes.
it's just like it's like electing or putting in charge all these people. They're like teenagers. They're not really secure people, so they have to tell you how great they are. Like a real person doesn't have to tell you. You just do your thing, and it's usually bad form. Like why are you saying? Trump saying, "I'm a person with great common sense." No, as soon as you say that, you're not. I already
Yeah,
know. End of
yeah,
story. I mean, come on. You go, I have a big brain. Really? I see something the size of a pea. Please, come on,
right.
Don't say things like that.
So the eclipse, because everybody's saying it's really bad. I know you energetically feel it. Fortunately, I've had a few things, but I'm spiritually on board. I feel really connected lately. Does that have anything to do with the eclipse?
No, the eclipse, see, what can happen with eclipses is, and so, uh, yes, it's true that if it catches your planets, it intensifies the energy and you may have a rough time. It's possible. But the more self aware you are, like the more you know your own mind and body, the more you can self correct and take advantage of those periods, and they can bring about an illumination. So I've experienced those eclipses. I've also experienced the other eclipses where it's pretty rough, but I've experienced eclipses where the clarity is tremendous. You get this
That's what's happening to
understanding of
me
something.
now.
Yeah, and that's really good. That's a good sign, right?
Right.
Yeah. So,
Now, how many more eclipses do we have?
well, we've got another one coming up, a solar, uh, in 2 weeks. Like right now, the moon takes 2 weeks to reach the new moon. It's just been full, right? That lunar eclipse is the Earth blocks the side of the moon. Solar eclipse, the moon gets in front, and then you can't see the sun. So now it's going to be very late in Virgo, Pisces, 29 degrees, which means these two eclipses aren't good for the orange guy because both of them link up in places in his chart that are not good, right? So
Oh, wow.
they continue the theme of things not going great. Like even, I mean, think about the fact that he goes to that tennis match on the eclipse and he gets booed. You know, he could have been at a, say you take a different angle and he's being cheered, by MAGA people. No, he went in front of all those people and they were booing him, even if apparently they gave them, the U.S. Tennis Association shamefully said, you're not allowed, they told the TV stations not to play the boos,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Well,
not
they
to play the
left the
sound.
place empty and had him come out, and a few people clapped.
Yeah, yeah,
But that you
exactly.
could really hear the booing when they had something on the jumbotron, and his face came up, and everybody was booing.
Yeah,
He gets
no,
to
so
where it's almost like he don't care, though.
no, well, he probably knew that that was likely to happen. I think that someone mentioned something about he's got a deal with Rolex or some story about how he needed to do this for monetary reasons. Or I also think I mentioned it in a video where I said that maybe he thought if I show up, because people have been speculating about me being really sick or dead or whatever, but if I show up looking normal, that'll restore my my image because he's very conscious of that. He doesn't like it when people
He doesn't want to
start.
be seen as weak, so even if he is really sick, he's getting boluses of prednisone or something to keep him going. He doesn't
Yeah,
want to be seen as weak.
right. So that there, those are at least I would say a couple of the reasons. But my point being though that the eclipse there, I don't think worked all that well for him. That's not a good look. To have. I mean, I saw by the way, this is the thing about the era we're in. Media travels lightning speed. So within, I'm not kidding you, minutes, there were headlines in Europe. Trump booed at the tennis.
No
Trump
kidding.
mercilessly booed. Oh yeah, yeah. I was reading them.
They love
So
it too.
yeah,
And
they
do you
don't
think
like it.
all that Epstein and that picture of a young girl and all that hasn't flown over there?
Yeah, no,
He's a
for sure.
laughing stock.
Yeah, yeah, and like you were saying, that suit. Good luck with that, because the odds that Murdoch and Fox News would make a second mistake that would cost them, $1 billion are extremely low. They probably looked at the data and they said, and now you've got this $10 billion suit, but are you going to do your depositions because you're going to be asked questions?
I think he's going to back out. I
Yeah.
think he's going to drop the suit, $1 billion.
Well, by the way, it's one of the things that I keep repeating that you see this pattern, that thing about going into next year, especially, is that the Saturn spends 2 years, but all of 26, all of 27, and half of 28 spends it in his legal house. You don't get good legal rulings when that's there. You get
No.
setbacks. You get people telling you, no, you can't do this. That's helpful, if you're
I've been
thinking,
picking up the Supreme Court in October. Will tell him that he can't do the tariffs. I know they say yes to everything else, but I feel the tariffs, they'll draw the line on that. I don't know why. That's what I get.
well, what's interesting about that is that if they don't let him do the tariffs, they're doing him a favor. I mean, think about it, right? He'll complain, but then he can blame them, and the economy will do better without those tariffs. I'm
Yes.
sorry, but that's just the truth. What he's doing
But
is
he's
really,
telling
really
them
bad
if
math.
you say no, I owe everybody one point something billion dollars.
So what? Big deal. That's not a lot of
He
money
won't
for the
pay
U.S.
anyway.
Treasury.
He never
That's
does.
BS.
Yeah.
No, I mean, at some point, you got to call BS on this guy. Are you kidding? The amount they've collected, that's not going to break the bank. The U.S. has plenty of money and they got to return it, yes, or they can hedge on returning it, whatever. I don't know, but they would be doing him a favor. I'm not sure about this one because, in fact, I'm going to learn a lot about the kind of mechanics of his chart because what the Supreme Court is now returning into mid-October, right? Is when they
Yeah,
come back in. Okay, so depending on when they make the ruling, because the next month, and they're known to, yeah, they start, but they may not rule until the following month, right? That's a possibility. Because in November, the there's a Saturn and Jupiter both station, and they station in a place that normally would be pretty good for him. So then I'm thinking, like, what does this mean? Does this mean that they give him a favorable ruling? Or maybe it's a different ruling. On the other hand, I say that being kind of optimistic because the flow of his chart is so negative that even those angles can turn on you, you know? So then,
yeah.
anyway, that one I'm just going to keep my eye on. I'm not totally sure about the tariff thing. I also want to study a little more. I don't know if you've looked at this because I don't know what happens if the Supreme Court says, okay, Congress is mandated to do this, not you. That's what the Constitution says. So you cannot do this. You've got to go through Congress. But then the natural thought would be, oh, no problem. We'll send it to Congress. Congress is Republican. They'll just do it. I don't think it works that way because they have to put it through the Senate and you have to get 60 votes. I'm pretty sure, unless they blow up the filibuster, which is a big move. So that would throw everything into turmoil. If
Yeah.
Congress cannot just say, okay, well, we approve of the tariffs, because I don't think they can. I think they have to go through the procedure and then you have to get Democratic votes. And he's not going to get Democratic votes for
None.
tariffs. No. So that's the one thing that I need to research. So they would have to kill the filibuster, you know, and say,
Yeah,
which is a big move, you know, because if you do that, then when the other party regains power, they can use it, you know, to
yeah.
pass whatever they want.
Speaking
So,
of power, any news on Johnson?
you know, Johnson, the problem with Johnson is that I don't have his birth time. So I keep trying to sort of guess, well, I wonder what's going on, why he's getting these pressures, because I often don't see them clearly in the chart. You know, there are charts where it's totally obvious. Even without a time, you'll see, yeah, this person is what it is. His is slippery. You know, I can't quite put my finger on it. There are some pressures, but it's hard to explain. Like, for instance, the recent embarrassment, you know, where he had to close down, send the people home. Then he comes back and he
And it's worse
steps
than
in.
ever.
Then he's saying, well, Trump was an FBI informant. Then he said, well, I don't really know, you know, because people call him on it. So yeah, I mean, there I'm hanging my hope on the fact that uh, both Jeffries and Schumer look much better in 26. The angles then are much better. In 24, they were really problematic, right?
Yeah.
So that's helpful because that's where the trend is going. And by the way, do you see, because this is the other thing, the comeback to anything we say always seems to be, yeah, you guys say this, blah, 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 but what does it matter? He's just going to stop the elections.
I
I
get
don't
that a
see
lot.
that. Do
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
Do
People
you,
have lost faith. They said he still gets away with it.
that he still gets away with what? That he's
You're
going to
talking
stop?
about Trump.
Yeah, but is he
Yeah.
going to be able to stop the elections?
No,
No, well, that's the point. Okay, so that's
he'll
how I
try,
see
but
it.
I don't see him being. And let me tell you, there are so many red hats that are going to vote for anybody else or not show up to vote. It's going to
Oh
be
yeah.
extremely embarrassing for him.
No, the trend, I mean, look, it's pretty clear. Even when you are a good president, a good party, the midterm elections are very difficult for the party that is in charge. That's historical. And this is bad because he's doing all these things that he campaigned on, but people weren't really conscious. You know, they go, oh yeah, get the all those evil criminal immigrants out. Then they see their next door neighbor who's not a evil criminal being hauled away, and they don't like that. So, and that's on the margins. Overall, it just doesn't look good to have people on soldiers on the
And then
streets. And
I went and bought in fact, the last time I was at the store, a green pepper was 4.99. And I went back to the same store not even 4 days later, and the green pepper went up to $6.99.
Oh no, the prices are up. There's no question they're up. They're up, and it's worse. It's worse than it was when he took over. 100%. Oh, and this is before you know, people that are not manufacturers, the distributors of food or whatever it is. If they were not stocking up, then they pass it on to you. So for a
Yeah,
while there, it wasn't happening. I think we're going to see more and more of that
we're
as
going
we
to
go
see
toward
more
the
and
end of
more
the
of it.
year,
But
which
he's
means
telling everybody the economy's fantastic. No, it's not. He must be
yeah, no, but
looking up his rear.
right, but that's him though. I mean that's the thing about Trump is that it's like The Apprentice Part Two. It's all, whatever I say it is. I'm gonna
Yeah.
tell you what is really happening. What they're telling you is fake. He said he has
Don't believe
70%
your own
approval.
eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But the thing is, Trump knows the real numbers. Because I heard someone, I don't know who I heard say this, someone that has an inside to I know who, it might have been Wolf or I don't know. Some person said that he knows very well what the real numbers are, but he just works relentlessly to repeat, repeat, repeat. I have 70% approval. I have the greatest economy in history, to keep his people motivated. So,
But
yeah.
that's the key. I'd really love to know how many of his people are involved.
What do you
He's
mean by that?
losing so many people.
Oh,
There's
no, he is.
pictures
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
people burning their red hats, and people are just done with him.
They are. And for different reasons, too, because you've got the group that is focused on the economy. That's probably the most dangerous group because, they're, or for instance, loss of healthcare. That's another big problem,
Oh,
too. And then you have the Epstein wackos, who are looking for, well, I mean, I call them wackos, but, now we're reminded that this is a real thing. I mean, maybe it's a good thing that it's come back because these women, I mean, what a total ripoff what they did to them. That is such a brutal thing. They obviously worked the background and people got deals. That Acosta character back in 2008, which,
oh
by the way,
yeah.
all of this has been Republican administrations again, right?
Yeah.
Because this wasn't in the Bush administration when it happened. And then the next scandal happened in 2019 when Trump was in power. And
Yeah.
these MAGA people, they can't put it together. They can't put in their mind. Like, you got to ask these guys, okay, so you explain to me how this works. This guy is hanging around this pedophile. Look at the note he sent them. Like, what do you think they were doing? What do you think they were doing? What are the odds? Come on, please. Like, let's
Exactly.
talk about the elephant in the room. It's like such an obvious thing. Oh,
And
and then
then
they
he
say,
just did a speech that he said men shouldn't be hurt so much by domestic squabbles. In other
oh,
words, you can
it's
beat your wife
ridiculous.
and it's okay.
They'll say, well, oh yeah, well, when it all comes out, it'll just be Democrats. Really? Is that what you think? Then don't you think you would have put it out by now? Come on, like get a brain. Honestly, get a brain, please.
Don't believe your lying eyes.
But it's
January 6th,
interesting.
we all saw it.
It's interesting that now you're starting to see the cracks with people like Joe Rogan. He seems to have found at least part of his brain because he doesn't have a very good working brain, in my opinion. That guy, some of the things he said, he's just not the brightest light, not the sharpest pencil, for sure. But hey, he's helpful in that he's starting to say, this Epstein thing doesn't make any sense. Really, Joe, like I could have told you that. And a number of other things, like when he said, oh, Trump came on my show and he didn't bring any evidence that there was cheating in the 2020 election. Really? Oh, well, that's a big discovery. You didn't realize that? Unbelievable.
I
Of course, he doesn't have
remember,
any evidence.
I remember a judge being interviewed. He was talking to I think Fox News, and he said Trump, Rudy came in with his cohorts. It was stolen. It was this. He said, "Great, okay, cool. Just give me some evidence. Give me something to go on. Anything. Just give me some." Oh yes, sir. I'll get it for you right away. It's locked up in my such and such. I'll get it for you. He said, "Okay, because I can't move forward until I get some proof to base my, decision." He never sent him anything
No, no, and he
because there
the
was
thing,
no proof.
I mean, the thing with this guy that is extremely dangerous is that he was trying to get the Justice Department to claim fraud so he could then say it was fraudulent and then take it from there. And this Justice Department may do that, But, it's a big country with a lot of people, with a lot of opposition. It's very risky.
Yeah.
Moves like that, it could turn on you in a really big way. He might end up trying to do a power move that gets denied or, that gets resisted. You have to be super careful when you're doing these
Yeah.
things.
And if he's around, he might not be around.
Well, that's another, or
That'd
he
be
might be around, but
another
not,
piece of
not,
good
he might be around, but he might not be capable of,
capable of, yeah.
of operating in any meaningful way.
Because
So
I know people say that Vance is more dangerous than him. I haven't picked that up. I just feel Vance is a nothing burger. He's got worse ratings than Trump does.
he does. And I mean, the one thing with Vance is that the one projection I had made was that he, if this continues and Trump is the face of the Republican Party in the 26 elections, and as I'm surmising, they're not going to go well for them. So then Vance may then see that as an opportunity to set the tone to run for president in 28. The problem he has is that his angles in 28 are horrible. So good
Okay.
luck with that, especially like, if you compare Vance to Gavin Newsom, he would get totally killed. It would not even be close, as an example. Right?
I
But
mean, we're not really predicting because it's way too early, but there's a lot of things that Gavin Newsom, and I have some things about him that sometimes upset me, like him allowing these uh, State Farm Agency to my costs for homeowners insurance and my cars. Never been in an accident, barely drive 5,000 miles in 3 years, and my car insurance up $200.
wow.
It's
Yeah.
just, but they just let them. It's weird how they're in the pockets of some people, but that's politics.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing that you can never get, you just don't get perfection or even close to
No,
it.
but I'll tell you the way he tells off Trump. It's amazing. Now, listen, he's calmed down a little, which I'm glad he did because for a while there it was getting a little bit okay again. He
Mhm.
could get you to laugh because he made such fun. For your consideration, he'd always say,
Yeah. When he says, how does he end it? He goes, thank you for your attention to this matter.
"Yeah,
No, I mean, the thing with Newsom though is that, like him or not, he is very, very informed and he's very articulate. It's a very dangerous person to run against because you get into a debate with him and you're going to get in trouble, especially this group of Republicans because they talk a lot of nonsense. They just
yeah,
say, he's the one that started to point out the blue states are paying all the bills. What are you
there
guys
you
talking
go,
about, right? The
there
red
you go."
states, or like when he said, what do you mean we have crime? The red states are worse. It's a known fact. He's not
Yeah,
afraid to say it, and he'll quote you the actual statistics, and he'll do it on the fly. It's very important. In politics, you can't, if you lose your communication ability, you're screwed. It
right. You
becomes
need
very
somebody
important.
like him. That's why people aren't happy with the Democratic speaker and Schumer. They want someone like Gavin Newsom who says, "Oh, hell no."
Yeah, and I don't know that I see that though. I don't know that that changes before the 28 election. I don't see any pattern where Schumer and do you think
You
that,
think they might stay in there?
yeah, till the
Maybe
midterms.
they'll get better once they have more power too.
Yeah, I mean, look, you always look bad when you're out of power because the point is when you're out of power, especially when you're dealing with this type of governance from the Republicans, you're pretty well powerless. They don't really consult with you. They do everything against you. You got to operate within the rules. I mean, what are they going to do? Are they going to go out on the street and start screaming? Which, by the way, Schumer is really bad at anyway. So I would tell him, don't do that. Just stay home. Don't make any noise because you look like a fool. Like send Cory Booker. He's better at this, or send AOC, or send Bernie, but don't say anything. Keep
Don't
quiet.
say anything.
I mean,
Oh,
see,
that's
that's the
true.
thing. Isn't it strange? Like communication is really powerful. Like I remember in the Bush years, remember the Iraq War and all that, and I would hear Bush explaining something, and I would think, what an idiot. And then I would hear Tony Blair say the same thing, and I would think, oh, that sounds a lot better. Because Tony Blair was a better communicator, right? So communication, it's very powerful. Doing it well is important. And Schumer that way is very bookish, and he doesn't have that, ability to do a speech or do something to motivate people. Not really. That's not his
Not
thing.
really, yeah.
No, no.
Now, quick question, and last question. Can you believe we've already done over 40 minutes? What do you feel about Netanyahu? Anything coming up on he's a Libra.
Well, look, I mean, Netanyahu, to me, that one is emerging clear as can be, and amazingly, because of the way things turned out, I wasn't anticipating so many problems in the Middle East. But I had said way back, like in 23, it would be when Saturn got into Aries that this guy was going to run into problems, right? Well, it turns out that next year, first of all, there's a mandated election in Israel in the middle of 26. That's a bad scene. I would be amazed if he wasn't. That's it. That's
Or
the end
unless
for
they
him.
just totally cheat like Putin does.
I don't know about that. When you as soon as you see a person with planets being challenged by Saturn at a moment when you're looking for approval, and in the context of the fact that Israel is very, very divided. He has a lot of people opposing him, and the way he's conducting things, he's damaging the reputation of Israel. He's not really accomplishing. I mean, he sort of is in a way because he's winning the wars, I guess, but he's not accomplishing the ultimate outcome. And so when I look at that, at first I thought, well, it would be like a scandal or something, but you don't need a scandal. All you have to have is an election, and he's in major trouble in
Okay.
2026. Yeah.
Yeah, because
So
he's bombed someplace again, another place. He's just showing his rear.
yeah, we should see both for him and for Putin, who's another one with a ton of Libra energy. We should see the wind starting to blow against them as we go into next year, and peaking in the middle of the year. Doesn't get better the following year. It's like that because
I'll tell
there's,
you, Ukraine, God bless them. They really are doing a number on Putin.
yeah,
They're
well,
wiping
yeah,
out all their oil and oh, it's a beautiful thing. And now they're hitting buildings because Putin hit their government buildings and so tit for tat. And they're not listening to Trump or America trying to tell them, no, you can't do. Yeah, we can.
well, I mean, what would you do if, I mean, isn't it kind of normal if you've got people bombing your buildings and bombing your civilians, men, women, children? Of course, you're going to hit back.
Exactly. That's all
I,
Putin knew
yeah,
is to hit civilians. He didn't know how to strategically hit things that would affect them very much.
yeah, no, I mean, that's the Russian playbook, though. They fight wars. Everything I've read is that everywhere they go, totally indiscriminate, bomb everything like scorched earth, and then you're telling Zelensky, well, he can do that, but you should just, stick to
That's
whatever.
what they were
I
telling him.
mean, imagine that even Biden had said, yeah, go ahead, bomb Moscow. I mean, he's bombing Kiev, so, shoot missiles at Moscow. I mean, isn't that how it works? We're at war. This is not a joke. I mean, if you're living in Kiev and you're seeing apartment buildings getting hit, what would you be thinking?
Hell yeah. But
You know?
even Biden didn't want them to go in
No,
there and really want.
no.
Now they're saying now they don't care. Now they're
Yeah.
saying, yeah, we're and all the other countries are saying, do it, do it.
Well, there is with Russia. Russia has a GDP, gross domestic product, that is quite low. It's lower than, well, much lower than California. California is a bigger economy than Russia by far. Texas or Italy, whatever. It's so he is really, really running the country dry because he's spending a ton of money on military equipment, and so the longer this goes, the more they're going to have another situation like in 1989. Russia basically went broke, in the late 80s through from the
Yeah.
war in Afghanistan. That's
Oh, that's
that's what got
right.
them.
That's right.
Yeah. So the fact that, and we've got, it's very interesting that this guy, that my namesake, the French guy, André Barbeau, he had figured out that Saturn Neptune conjunctions have a lot to do with Russia because of whenever there's like the one in the 1918, then there was one in 1952 when Stalin died, then there was one in 89 when the country totally changed. We're at another one now. This is it.
Okay.
2026, 2025, 26 is the conjunction. from what I can see, I don't know how it works out for this guy. I really don't, because I also don't think Trump wants him to win, but I don't think Trump can accomplish it. I don't think he can
Also, he's
literally.
making an ass out of Trump before the American public. So,
Oh, sure, yeah, right. But I mean, that isn't that to Trump's disadvantage when a lot of voters see that, he claims to be such a tough guy, and then he's putting out the red carpet for this Russian guy.
it was so sad.
It's
And
not a
then
great look.
also the same guy put out the red carpet that when he won as president, allegedly won, he's posting nudies of his wife. What the hell was that about?
Wait, who posted nudies?
On Russian TV, when Trump won as president, the main news organizations were showing pictures of Melania, the same pictures we've all seen,
Wow. Yeah.
in
Well,
nudes and soft porn.
this reminds me of something, which, in fact, I wonder if I can find the video on my computer or on my channel because it's so long ago that I did it. But remember that thing with the PP incident in
Yeah.
Russia? Okay, well, when I looked, because I researched that and there was a time. It said it happened, the alleged incident happened on this date. I'm telling you, if that was the date, something happened in Russia. I don't know what he did, but he did something that they probably have compromise on him because it's got
Okay.
it's got an Epstein-like signature, dirty deeds,
Yeah.
sex stuff. So there's that. And who else? Russians are famous for gathering something about you, and then it could be a business deal, it could be whatever. So because how do you explain the way this guy behaves with Putin? It's incomprehensible that
Yeah.
the way.
It's
I,
embarrassing.
yeah, I mean, it can't be because, for instance, he talks about love with Kim Jong Un, but when they went to negotiate the nuclear weapons, Trump didn't give him anything. I mean, basically, they're apart on everything. With Putin, he goes out of his way, to show total
Yeah,
obsequiousness.
they
So,
got something on him because Trump
yeah,
don't go out of his way for nobody.
no, no. So that's what I think it
So,
probably is. Yeah.
well, thank you, my friend. That was
No,
fun.
it's a pleasure. Yeah, that was fun as
Is it
usual.
raining where you are?
No, but it's kind of in an overcast
Yeah,
zone for the
our
last 2 days.
humidity is high. We had rain last night and this morning.
We had an
Light,
incident.
light rain, not dark, just
We had
light.
one day of only one, but it was 3 or 4 days ago. There was a fire somewhere and it got really smoky. And so for about half a day, we had to stay indoors because it was so bad, the air. But then
Wow.
it cleared, and now it's back to normal. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
by the way, Canada didn't accept a big shipment of, I don't know if you read this, of lobster that the United States was trying to send them. I guess they normally accept the lobster, but they turned it back. They said, no, we don't want your lobster.
For what reason?
They did, but the fishermen were real upset. I can't believe they turned away. And because they turned it away, I guess it's going to compromise the lobster because of the days. And the other thing Canada turned away was the tomatoes. We had sent them a whole bunch of tomatoes, and they said, "Hell, Canada's playing hardball." I'm going to tell you, and I'm glad they are.
Well, I mean, look, the amazing thing about this guy, I said this, I think, when I was talking with Len, I believe it was then, that this guy, he is, such a knucklehead that he doesn't understand how he, in a lot of ways, got the presidency from the alliances he's made, the groups he drew to himself. He creates this mob of people, but he doesn't seem to understand that the US's power is mostly alliance power. We get people to work with us. And so, yeah, we're a big country, but when you have all of Europe and Japan, and South Korea,
Now we
it
don't
gives
have
you.
the
And
respect.
now he's turning everyone into an enemy. I mean, Canada, what the hell? Come on, this is so
I know
ridiculous.
it is.
It's unbelievable.
I think when we get a new president, new administration, the other countries will open up a little bit towards us, and they'll just be glad he's gone.
Well, yeah, I would say that's true. It's just that they can also say, "How do we know you're not going to elect another idiot?"
Well, that's when I see, and I don't know how long it'll take, actual amendments to the Constitution saying, first of all, you can't be president if you're a convicted felon.
For sure, for sure. But this is though the zone where my feeling is probably in a couple of election cycles because there are all these patterns that I've been looking at where uh, by the time we get into the next decade, it starts to it starts to really change, and
Good.
go in a different direction. Kind of like what happened in the 1860s and in 70s and the 1930s. There were big global and country changes, and then things became better. Not
Yeah.
as better as we want now, but better than they were for them, type thing.
And I was talking about how horrible this Supreme Court is, and I was talking to my friend Dan, and he said, Linda, there was just as bad after the Civil War.
Hmm.
Horrible, horrible, just
Oh,
real terrible things.
I'll end another thing too. If people probably, I'm guessing that whoever's watching this, many will say, "Oh yeah, we already read or listen to her," but um, Heather Cox Richardson, she is excellent. She's a historian, and I was listening to her. She was on Pod Save America, talking to those guys who used to be Obama on the Obama team, and they have a podcast, and they're always doing politics. That episode makes things so clear. Listen to that. She explains where we've been. She actually said it's been much worse than today,
Yeah,
much worse. And we recovered. But she explains how the Republican Party has been, working the background constantly to create this ideology that they want people to be trapped in. Very good listening, and she's just really smart and has the data at her
I'll
fingertips. And
listen to her.
she has by the way, a column every day that she puts out telling you what just took place in different places. So it's such a great summary of, as you're going along.
What's going on?
Yeah.
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 Okay. Well, thank
All
you,
right.
my friend.
Thank you. All right. Bye, everyone. We'll see you again
Bye.
soon.